Hi and welcome back to Love English. I'm Leila and in today's lesson it's gonna get a little bit controversial. Some of you might not actually agree with what I have to teach you because today I want to share 12 words in the English language that I think you can say wrong. Yes, you can mispronounce these words. English is a global language. So not only do we have differences in pronunciation from region to region within the United Kingdom, but we also have differences globally. And these words in particular have two distinctive pronunciations. Now, some of them are technically wrong, but again, English is an evolving language. It's changing all the time. And that means that words change. The meanings of words can change and the pronunciation of words can change over time. And gradually, as more and more people use these different forms of pronunciation, they become acceptable and even get put into a dictionary. So, if you want to see whether you pronounce these words correctly or whether, like many, you may pronounce them slightly differently, then keep watching to learn more. Now, if your pronunciation is something you would like to improve, or indeed if you would simply like to have the opportunity to improve your conversation skills, maybe practice for an exam, or even just grammar. Yeah, grammar's pretty essential. Then you might be interested in the sponsors of today's video, Cambly. Cambly are a language learning app exclusively for learning English with real professional native teachers. You'll be learning privately with Cambly, and best bit, the best feature of Cambly, you can choose from American, Australian, British, Canadian, any type of nationality, and of course you can choose your teacher based on their interests, their hobbies, so that you're sure you've got something to talk about. Now, Cambly have just introduced a brand new curriculum, new courses designed specifically with you in mind. You can choose from basic to advanced conversation skills, looking at professional development, business English and advanced business English, learning how to express yourself, sharing your opinions about the planet, the environment, or indeed talking about important topics like health and fitness. And they even have new courses specifically focusing on IELTS speaking preparation. Of course, Cambly have many more courses to offer, including TOEFL, CAE, FCE, and really it can be tailored to your needs. Being an online language learning app means that they are super flexible. You can learn 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just pick the time that best suits your schedule. Lessons can be as short as 15 minutes, and they are very competitively priced. So whatever your English language learning needs and goals are, Cambly are there to support you. Click the link in the description box to learn more about some of the course discounts that they have available, or of course, just go to your app store and type in Cambly. And if you've got kids, there's even an app for that. Right, on with the lesson. 12 words that you can mispronounce. Right, so before I start with number one, I'm actually going to test your English here. I'm going to test your pronunciation. This word, this cake, it is a cake, a very traditional British afternoon tea cake. How do you pronounce it? Would you say scone, like home, or scone, like gone? Scone, 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 scone. Very controversial in the UK as to which it should be. In fact, both are correct. Often it depends on the region that you live in. Up north, it's more common to say scone. Down south, a little bit more common to say scone. And generally speaking, scone is considered to be the posher pronunciation. But like any of these pronunciations, whichever you choose or prefer to use, you're not wrong. You're going to be understood. People will not think that you're speaking badly because, truth be known, English native speakers will also say many of these words wrong. And actually, I would even say they're not wrong. They are just a difference in pronunciation, an alternative choice. Number one, the first one I want to start with is actually one that people point out to me that I say wrong. And I Googled this. I checked on some very reputable dictionary sites, And in fact, there are two alternative pronunciations. The most common pronunciation for this word is often, often. I often eat chocolate. There we are omitting, leaving out the T sound, often. However, I like pronouncing my T's. That's just how I speak. And I say often, often. With many of you on YouTube commenting, but teacher, you said it wrong. It shouldn't be often. Google it. Check it if you don't believe me. It's an alternative pronunciation and nothing wrong with it, really. I just prefer to pronounce my T's, and I'm not changing my pronunciation just because someone tells me it's wrong. It's not. It's an alternative. So I often go to the shops. I often go to the shops. Which do you prefer the sound of? 1 or 2? Which pronunciation do you use? Right, number 2, a month. That's right, a month of the year. Is it February or February? February. I say the second, February, but traditionally the correct form should be February. However, because there's so many R's there's a consonant cluster, it's a little bit of a mouthful. And when you're speaking quickly, it's just easier to say February. February. Now, you can pay attention to native speakers and you will hear native speakers like me say February. It really is not a big deal and it's not wrong. It's just an alternative. It's a different way to pronounce it. So listen carefully next time you're watching TV or in conversation with a native speaker. How many of them say February, February, not February, or February and not February? February, it does make your mouth go a little bit. I'm happy saying February and I'm not changing it. I often say February. There we go. See? Native English teacher. That's how I say it. Okay, number 3, and yes, this one is really controversial. The correct pronunciation, correct, in the dictionary is mischievous, mischievous, meaning a little bit naughty. Children are often mischievous, mischievous. Now the noun is mischief, mischief. So you can hear there's more of a similarity there with mischievous and mischief. What many people do, and this includes me, is say mischievous, mischievous. So actually we're adding an extra syllable there and we're elongating that E sound. Not mischievous, but mischievious. So technically the first is correct, but again, I'm gonna emphasize English, like all languages, changes and evolves. And I would argue that mischievous has become acceptable. No one is going to look at you and say, how are you saying that? How did you just pronounce that? No. And they'll also understand you perfectly. Mischievous or technically wrong, but acceptable, mischievous, mischievous. They're very mischievous children. They're very mischievous children. If you do say mischievous, it probably sounds a little bit more sophisticated and posh. Now, why is it that this pronunciation exists? Because actually the way it's spelt is really the way it should be said. Well, in America, the Harvard Dialect Survey found that 26% of Americans actually pronounce mischievous with 4 syllables. Why? Well, according to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, a long time ago, back in the 16th century, there used to be a variant, a different spelling for this word with I-O-U-S. So it may be that in fact, a long time ago, mischievous was acceptable because the spelling was slightly different. There we go, a very good example of evolving language. Mischievous or mischievous? You choose. Number 4. Now, this is a very good example of the fact that English has actually borrowed a lot of words from other languages. Do you say envelope, envelope, or envelope, envelope? Now, some people may consider envelope a little bit more posh, sophisticated, and basically because that is the original pronunciation, it's a French word. We've taken it from the French language. So, don't lick the envelope, it tastes disgusting. But don't lick the envelope, it tastes disgusting. Both are acceptable. There's no problem using either. I say envelope, maybe a sign that I'm not very posh, but again, the British pronunciation would probably be envelope, whereas the original French, envelope. Both correct. Number 5, poem. poem, poem, poem or poem. So have we got two syllables or have we got one using a diphthong? O-M, O, poem or poem. So are you using a diphthong, meaning a sound that has two sounds combined? Poem, this is O, your mouth moves, that's a sign it's a diphthong. Or do you say poem, poem? So either or, again, it is your preference. I would probably say poem. He read me a beautiful romantic poem. He read me a beautiful romantic poem. Very little difference there. Technically, correct pronunciation, library, library, library. But often you will hear people say library, library. Two syllables, library or library. I actually think I prefer the second. I'm probably a little bit lazy when I speak. But library is the correct pronunciation. So, do you often go to the library? Do you often go to the library? What do you prefer? This next one that you probably have questioned before. Either, either, neither, neither. Which is correct? Well, English is a global language. They are both correct. One is traditionally British, one is more American. But again, we've both been influenced by each other, particularly the British language by American pop culture, cinema, television series. So you'll find many British people saying either when either is the traditional British pronunciation. The same, neither would be British, but neither would be American. Up to you. Really doesn't make a difference. Don't be fixated on learning only British English or only American English pronunciation. English is global. If you're learning English, you are likely to be speaking with people of all nationalities, with Americans, with Brits, and as long as your pronunciation is clear and intelligible, it's really not going to make a big difference. So either, either, neither, neither. You choose. Number 8, a very simple 3-letter word, again with 2 pronunciations, but either totally fine with me. And generally, it's just acceptable everywhere. It doesn't make a difference how you pronounce this word. You could say our car is parked there, our car is parked there, or our car is parked there. Our, pronounced like hour, 1 hour, time, or are, pronounced like the verb, are, we are happy. Either is completely acceptable. You really don't have to worry about making a mistake with this one. But again, pay attention. Which do you notice you're using? Are is probably a little bit easier, our car, but our, there's a little bit more movement in the mouth. There's a diphthong there. Our, ow, our. Technically 2 syllables with a diphthong. So our car or our car, you choose. Number 8, and this is another one that I will often mispronounce. Say wrong? No, wait, it's not wrong, it's just different. You can say schedule, schedule. What's on your schedule for today? Or schedule, schedule. What's on your schedule today? Schedule is the British pronunciation, but schedule is the American pronunciation. And again, because of pop culture, because of movies, television series, often you will hear British people saying the American pronunciation. Schedule, schedule, it doesn't matter. We can understand you. English is a global language. We don't own the pronunciation rights here in the UK. It's totally acceptable to have different variants of pronunciation. So there you go, another one to add to your list. Privacy or privacy. Again, American and British, but again, the Brits have been influenced by Americans and you will often hear privacy. But traditionally, the more accepted pronunciation in the UK was privacy. We don't have a lot of privacy in our garden. We don't have a lot of privacy in our garden. Either or is perfectly correct. And in fact, sometimes I think I use both. Privacy, privacy. You really don't have to worry which you use as long as you use one of those. I don't know of any other pronunciation alternatives. Privacy, British, privacy, American. Number 11, and this is one that when I've heard said differently to how I pronounce it, I actually thought they were saying it wrong, but I've looked into this and technically to say niche is correct. It just sounds really strange because I haven't heard this used in the UK. We would say niche. Niche is referring to a specialization or a specialized role or place. So, for example, teaching English on YouTube is a niche subject. Teaching English on YouTube is a niche subject. I don't like niche. It's up to you what you say. It really doesn't matter either way. When someone has used this pronunciation with me, an American in fact, it's more commonly pronounced niche in American English, I understood what they were saying. I was going like that in my head saying, is that correct? But I understood them. I didn't say anything. And then I looked it up online, checked, yes, it's acceptable. So niche or niche. And finally, I'm ending with another French word, a word we have borrowed from the French language. Is it garage, garage, or garage? Idge. It's the ending there that makes the big difference. Garage, garage. Technically, the French correct pronunciation, garage. Now, I think I actually use the French pronunciation. I just prefer the R sound. Don't know why, but there's nothing wrong with saying garage. That's how the Brits have kind of evolved and taken that word to make it their own. So a great example of how languages influence each other and how we can make it our own by putting a new twist on the pronunciation. So I hope that lesson has been enlightening. I hope it's made you realize that whether you say either, either, neither, neither, our, are, often, often, it really doesn't matter. As long as you are speaking intelligibly, clearly, using clear pronunciation, people will understand you. You're not going to be judged on whether you choose the French pronunciation or the American pronunciation. Use what you are comfortable with. Remember, English does not belong to England anymore. It is very much a global language and you will always find differences in pronunciation. If you're not sure, Google it. Google is probably one of the best teachers, even for me, and you will find lots of forums, people discussing different pronunciations, and of course some great online dictionaries. I'll put a link down below to a few of my favorite dictionaries online to help you improve your pronunciation. In the meantime, don't forget, if you do want to practice your English with a native professional teacher, you can click the link down below to check out Cambly and of course download the app on your phone. Thank you so much for watching. Take care and we'll be seeing you very soon. Bye.